All right, everybody, we are live. And before we get going tonight, I'm going to give us about 10 seconds because I know sometimes the ads roll right off the bat. And I want to give people a chance to kind of click out of those ads before we get started. So let's just count from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that should be good enough. Hey, everybody, welcome to my first ever Ask Me Anything here on the channel. If you were in part of the community poll that voted for this, you'll know that I did kind of a couple of different questions. Do we want to do a live stream like this when we got to 2,500 subscribers? Should we wait till we get to 5,000 subscribers? Should we wait till we get to 25,000 subscribers? Or should we wait till the channel is worth $100 billion? Now, we got about a 60 some percent. Let's just do it now. But it's surprisingly maybe not, considering the nature of this channel and you guys. With a not far away distant second place, it was let's wait till we're all worth $100 billion as a community. So yeah, very cool. All right. So here's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to kind of run down the format a little bit. And it's funny, I put these earphones on and I'm like, why do I have earphones on? I'm not interviewing anybody tonight. I don't hear anything. So I don't know. Maybe it just dials me in. So we're going to go through a couple of things. I'm going to thank a lot of people before we get started. I am going to highlight questions and answer them as best as I can. And I've got some questions that came from Team Replay that's going to be watching tomorrow. And I'll highlight, well, I won't highlight them, but I'll read them out loud. And as a matter of fact, I'll probably read all of these out loud for people that are only listening in the future. That way they know what the question is, who it came from, and what my reply was. And we'll really go as long as you guys have questions. I mean, this could be a couple of hours. This could be 15, 20 minutes. I don't know. It's really in your hands. I am at your mercy. Before we get going, I just wanted to give you guys some channel stats and a little bit about why we're doing this. As of today, we have 2,640 members of the BookTube community. You guys are each hugely important for this channel growth. The channel is 9 months old, and we've done 82 videos in a combination of live streams and of, our pre-recorded BookTube videos. I want to give a very special thank you to some people. First off, I want to thank the people who have come on for whom the bell tolls. I counted it up. I actually miscounted. I had to go back earlier this afternoon and relabel all of the details because I had all the episode numbers wrong. But in order of appearance, here is where I want to thank everybody. And this is, again, in the order that they came on the show. Our first ever guest was Tori Tekin. Bryce came on after that from Shelf Centered. The Incredible Mike came on, number 3. Philip, the best of fantasy. We all know Dr. Chase. He was next. Then we had Mr. Minton, Mr. Talking Story, Captain Tingle. John Minton himself was on the show. That was awesome. Darko was fantastic. Andrew Wizardly Reads was next. Then we had Joe Byrne. He was fantastic. Then we got who I consider to be the gold standard of shows like this one. That's Jimmy Nuts. He was fantastic. Alan followed him up because, of course, he did. And that was a tremendous, tremendous show. Josh over at Red Fury Books brought so much life to this. Madison made her comeback. Madison Goodyear made her BookTube comeback on For Whom the Bell Tolls. So I'm really proud of that. Joanna was up next. That was a blast. Evie was up. Then we had Matt. Actually, it might have been Evie first, then Joanna. Then we had Matt from Matt on Books. We had Jonathan Cohn, who was a fantastic guest. And just last week, we had Tom Orange. Again, really great guy. So thank you to all 16 of you who have come on this show. I also want to say a special thank you to some booktubers who have had me on their channels in the last 9 months. And I am positive I'm at least omitting 2, but it's hard for me to remember what I had for lunch, let alone whose channels I've been on over the last 9 months. But Mike, of course, Philip, John Minton, Talking Story, Jimmy Nuts. I was so excited when Jimmy asked me to be on Chatting with Nuts. Same when I was on Let's Talk About Nothing with Mike and Dear Dr. Fantasy with Philip. Joanna had me on just this last weekend with Why Read. And one of the first people that had me on was Beard of Darkness. That was really cool. And the very first person that invited me on their show was Tori Tekken, and she's just been tremendous throughout all of this. I also want to, before we get started, thank everybody who sent me book mail. When I started the channel, I legit thought I would never get a book in the mail. It wasn't just like a maybe I'll get one. I really did not think I would get anything. And to anybody who has sent me a book, thank you so much. Whether it was something you wrote yourself or something that was on a wish list or something that you just thought I would enjoy, it's extremely kind of you, and it's very humbling to receive that. And yeah, and then I guess lastly, and just as importantly, or maybe not even if more so, are the patrons of the channel who are part of our Patreon. I'll have a link in this description to our Patreon. It's a really cheap way of helping out the channel, do some of our channel goals that I'll get into as this show goes on a little bit. But right now, the basic tier is literally less than $2. And for the amount of videos that I do on a monthly basis, we're talking like 20 cents a video. So if that's within your budget and you want to support the channel in that kind of way, it is always appreciated, by no means required. Now, I have not even looked over at the chat yet. Okay, I'm going to try to. Now, here's the other thing. I don't have my monitor set up because normally when I have a guest on, at least the last few episodes, I've wanted to look like I'm looking at the guest rather than looking down. If you watch like the first 10 episodes, I'm always looking down because I'm doing this off of my laptop. Tonight, we're going to see a little bit more of me looking down at these questions. And as I answer them, I'll try to look more into the camera. If there's any tech issues, by the way, feel free to let me know, and eventually I will get to it. Let's start off with our first comment of the night. Aaron, one of our patrons. Hello, come out wherever you are. Awesome to see you, Aaron. Tyson is always around 54321. Must have been right on when we started. Sam Harrison, still awake, LOL. So I got a Twitter reply from Sam earlier today saying, it's going to be midnight when the show it goes live for him. If he's still awake, he would be part of it. Well, I hope I'm not keeping you too awake, Sam, but I'm really glad that you're here. Oh, my buddy, Slay. I got to hit you up in Discord. We're going to do our call next week. If you are a booktuber, you know who Slay is. He's about the coolest dude in the world. Thanks for being here, Slay. I know it is super late your time, too. Darko is in the house. Brian in his Rocky Balboa voice. Now, I bet you his Rocky Balboa voice is so much better than what I just mangled. Thatcher is in the house. Great patron. And again, one of our regular commenters or repliers on X, Twitter, whatever we call it. Thatcher, thanks for being here. He's also sent book mail, which is super cool. Stepan, my favorite person. Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't know any other people that live in Croatia, but that doesn't matter. Stepan, you're my favorite person that lives in Croatia. And thank you for the books that you've sent, by the way. What is my favorite cocktail? Of course, that happens to be the first question of the night, right? I should have known better than to do this. Okay. Oh, it depends. So a lot of these answers, you guys, you're going to get a couple of different responses. It depends. If I'm having dinner, a nice glass of Cabernet. If I am sort of like just feeling like drinking something because I want to feel the effects of it, I'll drink some shots of sake. And when I'm out and about and just kind of at a bar or whatever, my default is sort of strange. I'll go to something real basic like a Stoli vodka and Sprite. I have obviously had every drink under the sun imaginable. I've made many drinks that are, crazy, but something kind of simple like that kind of gets me through it. I barely drink anymore, you guys, so it's weird. And Griffin going for that WKRP look, maybe with the headphones. As God is my witness, I thought those turkeys could fly. Okay. Britton is here. Hey, Britton, some Okie dude. If you've not checked out his channel, got to do it. The greatest himself. Talking story, John Minton. Ha 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 ha. Your channel is in my hands. I don't think anybody would be opposed to that, John. I think they'd probably prefer it. Yeah, Michael knows. I swear I thought turkeys could fly. By the way, John, thank you for being here. I know you're super busy tonight, and a couple other people. I chatted with Philip this morning for about an hour and a half. He's going to try to make it at the end of tonight because he's doing a pre-recorded stream on another channel as we start this tonight. But if it doesn't go too long, hopefully we will see Dr. Chase. If not, in maybe an hour or so, we'll all say Beowulf, in unison. And if that doesn't draw him out, nothing will. Bulk, new channel member, welcome, woohoo. Ithra's here, fantastic. Another giant Richard Cadre fan, just like me. Theo is in the house. Rekindled Reader. There's another channel that you need to be on if you're not already. Hey, Brian, congrats, buddy. Thank you so much, Theo. Guess what, you guys? Theo's agreed to come on the channel. I will make the announcement as we get a little bit closer what day it's going to be, because you know me, I like to keep you in a little bit of suspense. But we're doing a For Whom the Bell Tolls with Mr. Theo, Mr. Rekindled Reader. And I got to really meet and interact with Theo for the very first time this last weekend over on Joanna's channel. And I have to say, this dude and me get along great. We are going to have a blast when we do For Whom the Bell Tolls. And it's just awesome because I've heard, and I was telling him this, Mike and a couple of guys who've been around the neighborhood for a while, Jimmy Nuts, that they've been missing some booktubers that kind of went on hiatus for a while. And when that happens, you never really know if they're coming back, right? If it's been a year, you don't know. And I think when Theo came back, his announcement that he was coming back, I think Mike basically put "bout time," and that was Mike's answer, which is tremendous. Ithra, I got my first arc in May. That's what made me want to start a channel. That's awesome. I highly encourage it. Shad is here again. If you're a booktuber, you know Shad. Very good to see you here, my friend. I don't have a monitor at all. That's okay. You just get started with whatever you start with. It doesn't matter. As long as you're having fun making the content, that's what it's about. And especially when you're brand new, that's the time you get to do whatever you want. Just take every risk under the sun, because why not? Figure it out what sticks. Kindles and Kicks, you were on my Lil Bro Britain's channel. Oh, I was on Britain's channel. See, there's another one that I forgot. Sorry, Britain. You were on my Lil Bro Britain's channel. That's where I learned your history with the Prince of Purple. That is true. I know I'm going to be talking all the time because look at me, Brian. Look at me, right? Exactly. See, Theo's like me, man. That's cool. Bex is here. What is your Culver's order? Okay, so good question, Bex. I don't know if they have Culver's where you guys are all watching, but it's fast food, but it's made to order fast food. It's based out of Wisconsin, but they have franchises here in Minnesota. My Culver's order generally is going to be a double cheeseburger with just ketchup and mustard on it, and that's it, and pickles. That would be my Culver's order. Britton, yep, that was fun. I did have fun with that, Britton. It was so funny. When I went on Britton's podcast, I have to be honest, I hadn't seen a lot of his podcasts, and up until then, because Britton was a guy that invited me on when I was pretty new at this, and for whatever reason, I thought we were live. And I thought it was so odd that there was no questions coming up during the podcast. And I only then realized, oh, this is pre-recorded. So that was really funny. I noticed that later. I saw KRP. I love that. Are there still Caribou Coffee? Renerdified is asking, are there still Caribou Coffee's locations in your great state? The answer is yes. Caribou Coffee is a coffee franchise that was founded here in Minneapolis by a couple of local people. They since sold to a huge conglomerate out of Europe, and everything has really changed. But yes, there are still Caribou franchises all over Minnesota. I think the quality has gone down in many ways. Just my opinion, obviously, but it's become a little bit more Starbucksy, I think, than what the original founders of Caribou intended. But that's it. Joseph Fairbanks wants to know Wheel of Time tier ranking. Okay, So that brings up a great topic. So tier rankings, I've been planning to do them for a while. And what I have not really shared with people that, are outside of BookTube, I'll share with you right here that the way that I record my videos is slightly unique. I don't use a piece of software called OBS. I record the video separately, then the audio. I record the audio directly into Logic software on my Mac. I record the video to a card reader on my Sony, camera, and then I merge them together in my editing. But that doesn't really lend itself well to doing something like a tier list. And Tori was able to talk to me about how she does it because she does something similar. And I didn't realize that I can actually screen capture in real time because I'm a PC guy. I'm not a Mac guy. This is really the only thing that I use my Mac for, other than when I've got it plugged into a keyboard to run lots of different, sounds with. But she's really kind of instructed me how to go about doing a tier list without losing the quality of my camera on myself, without losing any audio, and being able to show it to you. So tier lists are definitely coming up in the next month. Specifically to Joseph Fairbanks' question, Wheel of Time tier ranking. I think here's where I would have a problem with that. I read the Wheel of Time in I don't know, 3.5 months straight from January of 2021 to about April of 2021. And while I remember the story, I don't know that I can recall exact events enough of the 14 books, what happened where, to really know how to rank each and individual book. If I was going to do that, I should have done it when I didn't know I'd ever have a channel, 3 years ago. So it never occurred to me to do that. I could maybe say these are some of my favorites. I could say these are some of my least favorites, and those might be a little bit surprising to people because my least favorites aren't necessarily what's called the slog. I like the slog on a meta level of a journey. But specific tier ranking for Wheel of Time, unlikely, just because I don't think I could do it justice as if I had read the books like just really recently. However, other tier rankings are certainly on the way. Mendelin is here. Hello, all. Another great patron. Thank you. Bex, love Prince. That's why I'm wearing purple tonight. It was really funny when I got on, but just before we started tonight, I had just kind of like almost like a spandex t-shirt. It's warm under these lights. And it was like, hey, you know what? I just want to be comfortable. And then I looked at myself on camera. I was like, you know what? I am not this is a celebration for the BellTube community. I am not representing you guys well enough, looking schlocky coming on camera. So I grabbed the purple shirt. I'm not wearing, as you can tell, the white shirt with the black tie because that's for when I interview people. And we got to keep it to that. So that's why I'm rocking the purple tonight. And yeah, I love Prince too. Where are we here? Okay, I got to try to get this name right. Delicio? Delice. Now I took French in like junior high, so I should know this. Dalicio? I don't know. Sorry if that's butchered. Canada says hi. Congrats on your success. Well deserved. Love your energy. Thank you. Very cool compliment. I do appreciate it. Shot, I am watching One Piece. Have you watched One Piece? I have only watched the live action on Netflix. I really enjoyed it. I own the manga. It's up there somewhere. I'm going to get to it. I actually have not really been a manga reader ever. And were it not for BookTube, I wouldn't even know, honestly, that manga was a thing. It's just not really in my wheelhouse. But I really did enjoy the live action. I'm not really an anime guy. Just doesn't appeal to me so much. Just, different kinds of tastes for different people. But the manga I do have interest in. So at some point I will be getting to that. Just not exactly sure when. TF, smiley face. All right. Thanks, Thatcher. Daniel Klauser. Again, if you're on BookTube, you know Daniel Klauser. This is one of the most well-read, most well-thought through, commenters in both Discords and in live streams and in chats. Daniel really comes to the party prepared, so to speak, with his vast book knowledge. So thank you very much, Daniel, for kind of being a consistent person here in these chats and being just a great part of the BookTube community. Speaking of great people in the BookTube community and other patrons here, Heidi. Hi, Brian. What places do you still want to travel to? Now, I'm going to be drinking water from this glass tonight, which is also available in the merch store. And I lowered the prices on that too, by the way. Heidi wants to know, what places do you still want to travel to? So many. I used to live in London when I did a semester in college in London. And there's just a lot of England that is still unexplored to me. I went to Scotland just briefly. I woke up in Amsterdam once. That's a whole nother story. I bet you someone's going to ask about that. But so I've been to the UK, for a minute when I was in college, but I've never been to France. I've never been to Spain. I've never been to Italy. Those are three countries in Europe I would like to see. I want to go to Eastern Europe at some point. And spoilers, we've got an Eastern European guest coming on in the middle of October on For Whom the Bell Tolls, and she's phenomenal. And that's going to be a daytime stream, by the way, for us in the US, because I want to try to do one at least every other month for our European people who can watch, as they're live. And it was interesting when we did one with Matt on Books, there was quite a few people that joined us from the US because they were on their lunch hour. So awesome. That works really well. So I want to go to those countries, but really the number one country for me right now, Heidi, is Japan. I am on day 807 consecutive days of Japanese Duolingo right now. And I'm getting better at it. Japanese is not an easy language to learn, but it's fascinating to me. Prior to my bar life, I was in the packaging business and did a ton of business with some incredible Japanese companies and Japanese business people. And just the whole culture is tremendous. And I've spoken with Josh over at Red Fury about this. I've talked at length with Alan about it because, he's an aficionado as well. He lived there. So pretty cool stuff. Anyways, I hope that answers the question. Joanna's here. Hello, Brian. Hello, Joanna. Your ears must have been burning. Sam Harrison, my question, what's the biggest hole in your reading, the biggest series you haven't read? Okay, that's a great question. So up until earlier this year, when we did a community poll and the community voted in Gardens of the Moon, Malazan was a huge hole in my reading. So that's been conquered. I just finished Dead House Gates last weekend, and I'm going to talk about that on the end of the month recap. But, spoiler alert, I liked it quite a bit. I liked it a lot. So that was a big one. The other ones are kind of on deck. Janny Wirtz's The Wars of Light and Shadow, I'm starting with John in January. So that hole is going to be remedied for sure. The R. Scott Baker stuff, Second Apocalypse, Slay's been pushing me to read that. I just don't know how I'm going to get to it right off the rip because of these other big series. Trying to do Malazan and the Janny Wirtz big series, that's a challenge itself. P.L. Stewart's, he sent me all his books, or all Where We Are in the Drowned Kingdom so far. That's a big hole in my reading. Dandelion Dynasty, another one. Evie sent me that whole series completed. That's a gap in my reading as well. And so none of those are particularly short books. And if you know me and you watch the channel, I don't like reading a book one and then going off into the realm of reading and coming back to a book 2 6 months later. The only exception I'm making to that is between Malazan book 4. When I get done with that one, it'll be just about when John and I start The Wars of Light and Shadow in January. I'm taking a break really because that's the time it works best for John to start with Wars of Light and Shadow. Otherwise, I would probably have just finished Malazan, then moved on to Wars of Light and Shadow. But either way, it's my brother in the South. I got to do it. So we're going to do it. And my Malazan aficionados, my kind of go-tos in that world, Philip Chase and Joanna and Jimmy Nuts, have all indicated that after book 4 is an appropriate time to take an extended break if I need one. And the cool part is that there's so many discussions that when I start book 5, whenever that's going to be, I can go back and do recaps, watch them online. Hope that answers the question, Sam. Thank you for that. Shad, how are you feeling about the Vikings? Well, okay, so I'm in purple. So, I mean, we are eternal optimists here when it comes to Vikings. Make no mistake. I mean, people here like the Twins. They like the Timberwolves more because this last season they've been just giants in the NBA, where they were a perpetual loser literally for the last 25 years. But Minnesota is a football state, and we are a Vikings state. And I'm not feeling overly great because the state of our division is quite strong. Detroit is really good. The Bears picked up, we think, is probably the best player in the draft at quarterback. And the Packers seem to find ways to win, and they certainly like their quarterback. So I think we have a challenging division where we're playing each of those guys twice. I think that Sam Darnold, our quarterback, is, I don't know. He's on his third or fourth team already. So we'll see. I don't know. We're all eternal optimists, but we are very used to being disappointed in Minnesota. That's how I'm feeling. All right. Slay, do you have a book you regret reading? The Magicians. Lev Grossman. It's the worst book I ever read in my life. I know some of you guys love it. I know some of my BookTube friends like Bryce have it in their top 10 of all time. For me, it was far and away the worst book I've ever read. And because I don't DNF books, I read through it. And this is including, you guys, all the books that I read last January for the DNF challenge, where other booktubers gave me books they didn't like so much they quit on them. I liked every one of those books better than The Magicians. So yeah, that's the one book, Slay. See, it happens. He heard Beowulf. I mean, the man, you guys wait. I've got a graphic coming up that will happen the next time Dr. Fantasy comes on For Whom the Bell Tolls, because he certainly will be a repeat guest. And yeah, I've got a great graphic already set up for him. But Philip Chase says, I heard Beowulf. I can't stay right now, but I am here to wish you a wonderful live stream. Thank you, Philip. You are a dear friend that I will have forever. Ithra, who is my favorite side character in Sandman Slim? All right, no spoilers. I am a big Kasabian guy. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I sent Richard Kadri, the author, a poem, a Valentine's poem about Kasabian. And he liked it so much, he put it on his Twitter. So I'm a Kasabian guy. I like candy as well. I also like Varroque. So there's a lot of the Sandman Slim's great. Everybody should read it. Stepan wants to know, which book are you currently reading that intrigued you? Well, I am currently reading 2 books, one on audio, which is The Wandering Inn, because you guys voted it in. Thank you very much for giving me a 45-hour audiobook that I have to finish by the end of the month. And I'm also reading J.C.M. Burns' Blood Reunion right now. They're both intriguing. I'll have more to say on both of them at the end of the month when I do the recap. But, you know, The Wandering Inn is intriguing to me because of its huge popularity. It's a little bit, I don't know. It's a little bit of a slowish start for me, being so deep into the weeds in lit RPG that it almost seems like it's more, I don't want to say entry level, because that doesn't, that's not fair to The Wandering Inn, but it's a little bit more basic than some of the books that I've gotten into. So there'll be things that I talk about regarding what's intrigued me mostly, honestly, is Malazan, because I want to just say this right now about Malazan. I know somebody out there is watching this that is intimidated about this. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I don't mean to insult you by saying that, but it is so over, hyped how difficult and hard and it's not. They're just words on a page. If you got to read the same sentence 5 times, do it. There's a glossary. There are character lists that when you inevitably forget who's who, is it Captain List or Captain Lull or whoever it is, you look at the glossary, or you look at the character list. It's really no big deal. That series intrigues me in so many ways, not only because I love, Steven Erickson's storytelling. He's got so many, threads that he's braiding together to make a one complete story. And only 2 books in, I can I already know that I don't know what is coming up, which is intriguing to me to answer your question, Stepan, and it's exciting to me. But at any opportunity, when I get a chance to tell people on camera, stop being intimidated by Malazan, stop being intimidated by Malazan. There's nothing to be intimidated about. It's just a book. So that's all I can say there. Hope that wasn't just you might get some rants here. You never know. It's not BellTube's not really a ranty channel, but you know what? Maybe tonight. Heidi, I ambushed Dr. Chase this morning to pick Boudica for his Cooler the Hominy pick. Oh, well, we'll see what happens, Heidi. You never know. Joanna says, I'm so happy I got Brian and Theo on Wide Read. That was a wonderful episode. I had a blast. Theo had a blast. You had a blast. Everybody had a blast. If you have not watched the Why Read on Joanna Reads, that was last weekend with Theo and myself. Now you've got another great program to go watch. And Sam says, just finished Crown of Swords tonight. Loved it. Slog who. Yeah, that's why everybody should, read books on their own, right? Patrick couldn't stand Crown of Swords. Sam loved it. So I liked it, a lot. You just got to remember that when we have our favorite booktubers out there, let's just say we align with 95% of their book likes, right? That still leaves 5%, right? A lot of us booktubers read 50 to 100 books a year. So you can count on at least 1 or 2 books a year your favorite booktuber hating that you would love. So you really kind of got to be careful about selecting books solely based on what your favorite booktubers like or what they don't like, because you don't know. You might pass up on a book. If it sounds intriguing, do it. Brian, you've had a life. I hope I have a lot more life. It's certainly been interesting. And again, I'm drinking a lot of water because there's no guests here, right? So I'm not getting any talking breaks. I've had an interesting life, Britton, for sure. Should write a book. That's a fact. I think that's the Rick Thunder story. I think Rick Thunder has pretty much the copyright trademark on that's a fact, but not a bad idea. I'm happy. Oh, Shad's talking to Sam. Okay. Bulk wants to know Culver's Midwest shout out. That's right. Shot, I like Crown of Swords. Good. Michael, got my first Jonathan Mayberry in Ithra. Cool. I just read my first Jonathan Mayberry earlier this month, Patient Zero, sent to me by the wonderful John Minton over Talking Story. We did a great episode, by the way. If you haven't, been over on Talking Story to watch that one, it was our bromance booktubers kind of heroes and anti-heroes conversation we did earlier this month. We totally had a blast. If you guys missed that episode, it's on Talking Story. Go check it out. I want to try to get comments from, see, I'm a little bit behind. So Shad's asking, why don't I just do a live tier list? Oh, let me at least do a recorded one first so I can learn how. I'll give you guys a live one. Look at this, a super chat. $10 from Talking Story. This is Jacob and Mrs. Talking Story. Huge congrats to the coolest on BookTube. Hey, wait a minute. You guys, I mean, the family Minton is, my second family here on BookTube. Thank you guys so much. I have a blast. Any interactions I get now with John and Jacob, and we message all the time. Probably talk to John every day or every other day. It was really funny. He called me the other day, and it was from a cell phone. It had his wife's name on it, and I was just like, oh boy. I'm like, I hope this is John, because otherwise I've done something terrible. But this is awesome. Thank you guys so much. Excellent. And really do thank you for the super chat. You guys know it means a lot to me. Matt on Books, finally, inevitably, the bell tolls for Brian. Again, I have to say, Matt on Books named this show. We were taking a community poll, and I put some, potential names out there, and Matt Discord messages me and says, I don't know how this cannot be called For Whom the Bell Tolls. And I said, okay, I'm canceling the poll immediately. This channel is absolutely, or this show will be called For Whom the Bell Tolls. And I have to shout out Jared Henderson, who named the actual kind of episodic nature of it, the bell tower. So we welcome people to the bell tower for whom the bell tolls. I love that. Uh-oh. One of my favorites of all time, Janny Wirtz. You are known for hijinks and wild oats. When do we get a piano recital accompaniment with books? You know, I have to say, Janny, I suspected somebody was going to ask about, playing piano live on stream for you guys like an hour before this came up. So we must be psychically linked. Actually, I think we are. So anyway, I don't know. It's going to be a channel goal. I'll set a subscriber community. Like this is where the channel I would like us to get to. And once we do, I'll sit at the piano and sing and play to the BellTube community. And that stream could last 30 seconds if everybody turns it off, or they might go, wow, I can see that he's been playing since he was 7. So hopefully soon, hopefully soon. Matt on Books, did Rick Thunder ever perform in your club with Prince? Maybe. Prince for sure performed in our club couple of times. One of the times he used to come in because he loved electronic dance music. And from the club opened in 1995. I bought it in 2005. So it had been open for 10 years. And it was sort of like going okay, but I was either going to go do my own with my friend Todd, or we were going to buy an existing one. And we just made this guy an offer, which was way, way too much than we should have, but live and learn. I didn't know. And we ended up buying it. And then it continued for 15 years till the pandemic. But, the first few years, we were all electronic dance music, and Prince loved that stuff. So, he'd come into the club, whatever. I can remember at least one time he brought a guitar, he just had it on him, and he plugged in and started playing along with the DJ. So yeah, he's pretty interesting dude. Rick Thunder, on the other hand, I don't know. I would think I would have remembered if he was in the club. I know he would not remember if he was in the club. That question is kind of like the Bermuda Triangle, Matt. We may never know. We may never know. And Joanna says, I love Japan. Very cool. And Daniel says, I really appreciate that, Brian. Cool. And Matt also wants to go see Japan. Sweet. Shad, I want to visit Eastern Europe. I want to visit Serbia and Croatia. I actually had several bartenders from that region, at least 2 of them, not several, but a couple. And yeah, you definitely talk about a different life experience growing up in Serbia, in the 90s versus, growing up in the United States, other people his age and their ages. So yeah, Matt on Books. That's right. BookTube meetup in Tokyo or Osaka, or Kyoto. Very cool. Evie, oops, thought this was starting at 7:30 Eastern. Well, you're here and you were shouted out early. So when you go back and watch it later, you'll hear your name. Your ears are burning. Brent, another awesome dude, one of Mike's mods over on Mike's Book Reviews Discords. Brent Smith says Baker is so good. It's what I keep hearing, and it seems like Mike's enjoying it a lot. I know Philip and Joanna are huge fans. Like I said, Slay's a big fan of Second Apocalypse. I can't wait to do it, but man, it's like get in line. Janny's up next. And from there, we will see. And Sam is saying, me and a buddy are doing Wheel of Time once a month, but we're doing Malazan after. It's great. And they're both really different. I mean, I don't think that there's, one is necessarily better than the other for me so far, just 2 books into this. I suspect I'll wind up liking Malazan better because it's a little bit more complicated, and I like complicated stuff, and it's a little bit deeper, and I like deep stuff, but they're both great series. I think there's something that you like it. Oh, I think Matt's joining us on this as well. So that's even way cooler. We're going to have some amazing streams, you guys, for this Wars of Light and Shadow, because John's in on it. Of course, I'm in on it. Matt's going to be in on it. I think Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads is going to be in on it. Janny's offered to come help, clarify things that go over our head, which, knowing who's part of this read along, there's a high chance of that happening on all of us. So yeah, very, very cool. T Baggins, howdy. Good to see you here. Here we go. Another question from Heidi. Hey, Brian, any thought on the BookTube cruise idea? I would not be able to go, but many people would. I don't know. It's hard to say because I don't know if you, I mean, maybe clarify if you mean more like getting booktubers to get their communities to go, or just the BellTube community or whatnot. I think it would be fun, but in some regard, I wouldn't want to put a trip out there that's, onerous and costly for people, that they feel like, it's a FOMO if they don't go. And I absolutely would never want anybody to go into credit card debt to go on a trip or anything out of FOMO. So I don't know. It's a really good thought, though. I think it would be a blast if enough people wanted to do it. Beck says, go Gophers. Thank you. T Baggins, you and Alan would have a great discussion on Deadhouse Gates. He's probably Coltane's biggest fan. Very cool. I'm sure we would. I love Alan is coming back on the channel sooner or later too. I'm gonna get him out of his hidey hole. Um, Jeff Cleveland, one of my IRL friends. Brian, what? And this guy is a hardcore, classic sci-fi and hard sci-fi fan. So even though he doesn't have a book question, Jeff Cleveland knows his hard sci-fi. Brian, what's the hardest piano piece you can play now? Oh man, my chops are terrible since I started this channel. I was talking with Evie about this during our live stream. I honestly don't know what the hardest piece I could play is. If you Google a virtuoso, God, I can't remember this guy's name, but it's a virtuoso rendition of Pirates of the Caribbean theme played at a classical level. That's what I was working on prior to starting the channel. And it's not easy at all. And I was maybe about halfway through it. And then I started the channel. And now when I go back and try it, I'm so slowed down. Piano chops are weird. It's like the basics I'll be able to do forever because I was playing piano, from the time I could walk and read. But specific hand, separation and hand coordination stuff, those chops can go if you go an extended period of time. And that has been the one big sacrifice that I've made since starting the channel, is constant hour at the piano every morning. Evie is asking, how's the piano playing going lately? Evie, I'm still, I got to get that balance back. We've talked about that. Dahlia Sue, what upcoming book are you most excited about? I'll answer this in two ways. The first question is, and by the way, why are there 2 stars here? Oh, Grifton came in and I missed your super chat. Sorry, Grifton. Thank you so much. Wait a minute. Where did I go? Hang on. Here we go. What upcoming book are you most excited about? All right. So the most excited about I'm coming up to read, there's 2 of them. One of them is The Tomb that John sent me in the mail that I received this week, which I'm very excited about. Memories of Ice. I'm very excited about Memories of Ice. So in terms of my own TBR, those are the ones. In terms of books that are being released, I mean, obviously Wind and Truth as a Stormlight Archive fan is up there. But let's be honest, when we're talking about excitement level, I'm not overly like jumping out of my chair to go read that book. I don't know why. I do enjoy Stormlight. I think it's extremely well written. I like the characters a lot. I don't necessarily know that I am the biggest Stormlight guy, even though it is my favorite of the Cosmere. I think when I was reading Rhythm of War, I was getting a little annoyed at the author because I felt like it was bloated and it didn't need to be as big as it was. And I don't know. It's just, I liked it. I liked the Sanderlanche at the end. I like the Sanderlanche in the end of all the books. But I know this thing's going to be huge. I know everybody on BookTube is going to be reading it. I know that for the good of our channel, and if we really want our channel to get bigger quicker, the faster I read it, the faster I can talk about it here on the channel, the more channel is going to grow. So those are exciting components of that book. But in regards to like, oh, I can't wait to find out what happens. I don't know. I like talking swords, so big bonus there. And Yeah, Matt, the Magicians, you know it. Tharnall, funny, the Magicians was one of the series I hated as well. It's like someone makes fun of Narnia, but in a very mean way. It's like, what's the saying? Don't yuck on other people's yum, something like that. I know there's plenty of people that like the Magicians, but for me, I've never given a 0 or a 1 star on Goodreads ever until I read the Magicians, which I thought had the most loathsome protagonist ever, and that includes Yorg from the Prince of Thorns, Mark Lawrence book. Um, God, I hated that book so much. Um, Nikki Rubinger, have you DNF'd any movies and walked right out of the theater? Yeah, but I don't remember which one it was, and I think it was probably halfway through the movie, so it wasn't like I just insta quit it. Um, but yeah, as a matter of fact, Nikki's another one of my IRL people, and she'll know who I'm talking about. I was just talking about this on a live stream the other day. I was at a movie. I almost walked out, not because of the movie, but the person who I came with reached into his bag maybe 10 minutes on the movie and pulled out a slab of barbecued ribs and started eating ribs right in the movie theater. And Nikki will know exactly who that is, but I almost DNF'd the movie because of that. Britton wants to know, can I play Firth of Fifth on piano? That's Genesis, old school. For those of you who don't, I've never tried it. I don't know. It's weird. I just never, the only Genesis that I remember ever sitting down to play were probably more of the pop stuff, like That's All. What else did I play? Turn It On Again. I played in bands. So those two Genesis come to mind. Never tried Firth of Fifth. Um, this says, P.S. If you and John are starting Wars of Light and Shadow, you should call it January. Well, see, now that's why you're a pro, Sam Harrison. And if you've not seen his channel before, he's a good one to go subscribe to. It should be called January. I think we're going to get no pushback on that from Mr. Minton. So that is pretty cool. Ray Nerdified says, speaking of Minnesota sports, the Twins AA team used to be 15 minutes from me, used to go to the games all the time. Very cool. Guessing somewhere in Florida. Yes, Brian, I'm very happy your key ring or keeping to the Wandering Inn. I'm not sure what that means, but key ring. Where are we? Delicio says people either seem to really love or really hate the Magicians. No in between. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Matt agrees with me. Malazan isn't difficult. And it's funny too, because another series that comes up all the time in this conversation, maybe even more so, is the Book of the New Sun. And I asked Matt prior to reading Book of the New Sun, he knew what I read. I said, can I read this book? Is this going to be too difficult? And he said, absolutely not. It's just the book. Go read it. One of my favorite books of all time is the Book of the New Sun now. So he's right. Malazan is not difficult. Mendelin, I dislike the Magicians, but actually like the TV show. And that's interesting because I've heard that many times, that the adaptation is not as wretched as that terrible book. If you like this book, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Okay. Shad says, I disagree. Malazan is difficult. LOL. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's bad, though. I mean, difficult can also mean challenging. And sometimes I like it when books challenge me. I'm not always looking to speed read through a book. There are plenty of books that I enjoy for that kind of a thing. But there's also books that I want to learn something from. That's what I get from Erickson. That's what I get from Wirtz. That's what I get from Hobb. So those are yeah, I mean, Malazan on audio is very difficult, and I would agree. There's no way I could do audio. I always have an audiobook going no matter what, but it's almost always lit RPG. So that's interesting to know that my theory is correct, that Malazan, I think any big epic series where you've got thousands of named characters and you don't have the ability to go back and quickly look at a glossary or look at a cast list or anything like that, I think that that would get very confusing for me. And especially in these longer books when we're talking about 30 plus hours of audio. Yeah, I think that that would be difficult. Um, Gendron says, I just picked up from my county library the Great Book of Amber. I think that's a Mad on Books favorite. Um, yeah, it is. See? Amber, love it. Stepan wants to know, when choosing books to read, are you influenced by the opinions of other readers? Yes, but only after I've read a bunch of other their recommendations that I know. And when I hear them speak, I know if it's something that'll resonate with me. Like Mike is really the guy that got me into watching BookTube in the first place. I didn't know BookTube existed until just I happened to come across one of his videos. And now I know when Mike is fired up about a book, and based on how he describes the book, I'll know whether or not it's for me or not. As you guys may or may not know, I'm not a big horror guy, and Mike, is even leaning a little bit more into horror because he's sort of kept it to spooky season for the most part. Now he's reading one a month. Those don't appeal to me really, no matter how excited he gets. But when he gets into some sci-fi stuff like The Expanse, or when he gets into all the epic fantasy stuff that he does, then based on his description combined with his enthusiasm level, I get some really good things. Same with John, but he's a newer, guy to what I read. But since he sent me Patient Zero, which when you go back and watch our bromance BookTube story that was on his channel a couple of weeks ago, you're going to get a very vivid description of what I would have done about that book had it not come from him and had I saw it in a Barnes and Noble. I'm not going to wreck that spoiler here, but it's worth, watching that just for my description of that book. So to answer your question, Stepan, yeah, I am influenced by the opinions of other readers. I'm also influenced by the BellTube community quite a bit because we do have lots of lit RPG content on the channel, and I'm trying to expand that. I know that's not like everybody's favorite flavor, but hopefully you guys like me enough to stick through some of those segments of the shows, even if you're not into lit RPG at all, that understand it's helping to grow the channel, because there's not that many lit RPG booktubers out there that are interested, or it's the word I'm looking for without being derogatory, that are intentional about creating a professional looking show the way that we do over here. And I think you guys, I've given some statistics on it. There's a lit RPG, for epic fantasy people, why you might like lit RPG. I did a video, you can go check it out. But one of them is just about the community sides. It's enormous. And there's people that put into our comment sections some unbelievable great lit RPGs, one of them being The Primal Hunter, which I'd heard about because it's popular, but I'd never got to it. Just right out of that comment section, it's become a new favorite series of mine. And same with what some of you other guys put in there saying, Brian, if you like this, you might like this. Heidi sent me Outlaw, which again, I would not have picked up in a Barnes and Noble ever. And I loved it. So yeah, other readers absolutely influenced me. Some Okie dude, where's John at? He was here earlier, but him and I talked earlier this afternoon, and he, I believe, is working on his book tonight, possibly. Tharnell wants to know, where is Mrs. I know he means Mr. Cleo, and when will she make an appearance? When will he make an appearance? Now, for those of you guys who are unaware, I was on Sunday Pub, and again, if you're not subscribe to Matt on Books every Sunday. If you want to hang out with me in the chat and you want to be part of reading sprints, they go on at 1 p.m. Central Time every Sunday, almost every Sunday, but for the most part. And Matt has on different booktubers, and we just have conversations. And sometimes I'm on camera, more often I'm not, but I'm always in the chat. And it's a great time to sit back on a Sunday and just hang out and read with us. And Tharnall's always there. And one time I came on in full costume as a new character I was workshopping called Mr. Cleo. If you're old enough to remember who Mrs. Cleo was on commercials, I was telling fortunes as Mr. Cleo. Don't know. It's still under workshop, Tharnall. JCM Byrne. Hey, Brian, guess what? I am reading one of his books as we speak, Blood Reunion. I've only got to chapter 2, but it's fantastic. Really good. If you've not checked out Hybrid Helix series, go do it. Ithra, I don't know if you, I know you don't do horror, but if I sent you a different Mayberry standalone, would you give it a chance? Okay. Well, I'm never going to say no to book mail, but as it regards Mayberry, I want to keep going with Joe Ledger. So my plan is, and you guys know I love their urban fantasy, and it's while it's not urban fantasy yet, I hear it's kind of turning into that as we go, through the series. And so I want to get through Joe Ledger. I also want to get through the Tomb, which is, book one of Repairman Jack, because I hear that those are similar. Those authors, as you know, Ithra, are friends with Richard Cadre, who's one of our friends. So send it if you want. I'll get to it. I don't know when. Up to you, if that's fair. John is right here. Well, there you go. See, nephew is right here. Uncle John, not my nephew. It's John's BookTube nephew, is right here. John who? See, there you go. There we go. DK Moon. Either he plays like he's been playing since 7, or he plays like he is 7. You're not wrong there, DK Moon. There are days I get off that piano and I go, I can never play this thing again. Wow. I don't know. It's weird. It's like going to the gym. Some days you can just lift a lot of weight, and some days you had the same meals, you had everything, and it's just not working for you. Piano's like that. I think some of you artists are probably like that too, where you're in a state of flow, right? So if you're writing and some days the words are just pouring out and it's gold, same goes for music. Some days I'm playing and I'm just sounding great. Some days I wonder if I've ever played the thing before. So there you go. Joe Byrne, oh shit, you met Prince. That's amazing. Yeah. And the sad part is our last interaction was an argument. So had I known he was going to die early, that would not have happened. But sadly, yeah, that's okay. I mean, he was a good dude. Where are we here? I am scrolling through chat because I just want to make sure that I'm not getting the comments just back and forth to chat. And by the way, that's one of the best things about this. So when I started this show, I had watched Chatting with Nuts a lot. And as you guys know, when I have people come on the show, I watch lots of their stuff. And Jimmy in particular, I watch because, like I said, I think he's the gold standard when it comes to interview shows like this that are done on a regular basis. And I was just like, God, I've lost my train of thought. What was I even saying? I don't know. Someone in the comments remind me. I don't know. Talking about Jimmy, talking about, I lost track of the chat here. This whole thing is like falling apart, you guys. Okay. I don't remember. It's something about Jimmy. Jimmy rocks. Yay. Let's leave it at that for now. I'll probably remember in 20 minutes and bring it up. That's how it rolls. Here we go. T Baggins. I'm currently reading Curse of the Mist Wraith, and I will confirm that it is amazing. That's all I've ever heard. I've not heard anybody, and I don't know. I mean, I think people are on BookTube when there's an author that has become sort of part of, this indirect BookTube community, because they'll come into chats and they'll make themselves accessible. I think that's a great thing. The only thing that I wonder about sometimes is, are people that are normally critical less critical because they don't want to say something to the author? And with very few exceptions, there's like maybe one, maybe two readers that I know that Jani's books didn't super resonate with. I don't know if it was just the style or the content or whatever, but most people, same opinion, T Baggins. They're just confirming that it's amazing. And from what I hear from Philip and Joanna, is the story just continues to grow. And from what I hear from Jani is, they ain't seen nothing yet because she knows where both of them are in the series. And that's super exciting. So very cool. Where are we here? Ithra, Britain, do. Darko wants to know another channel. If you've not subscribed to it, Kindles and Kicks. Let's force Darko to make some more videos. I'm going to be on you about that. That's how we roll together. All right. When are you reading Memories of Ice? That's up next for me. Okay. Well, I'll give you a sneak peek. I'm filming the September TBR tomorrow. It's in there. It's probably going to be mid-month because I want to get our Illuminati book done right away, Ordinary Grace, and I'm going to do a Spiffbo book in between that, and then I'm jumping on Memories of Ice, probably mid-month. And Matt says Santa doesn't get me too excited either. I mean, yeah, I don't mean to say they're not exciting books. And if Sanderson is your favorite author, God bless you. Like I said, if I didn't like his books, I wouldn't read them. I think I've read everything in the Cosmere or pretty, dang close to it. It's just for whatever reason, I don't know. I like it when I'm reading it, but it just you guys know what I mean. Okay. EV says the book I am excited for is Days of Shattered Faith by Adrian Tchaikovsky, third book in the Tyrant Philosophers. There's another, author that you guys have asked me about. Somebody asked me earlier, who am I blind to? Who's a gap in my reading? Adrian Tchaikovsky, very prolific writer. Haven't got to him yet. Again, there's just only so many hours in the day, right? And it's interesting too, because starting BookTube, John knows this because he thinks I'm bonkers crazy for the amount of time I spend per video, but I spend a ton of time making videos. I just want them to look as good as I can do. And I'm the one man band over here. And it's like that does cut into reading time a bit. So where I would say that I used to read probably 2 more books a month than I do now, mostly because of planning videos. I don't script them, but I bullet point them where I want to make sure I don't forget to say things about a particular book or about a particular top 10 or whatever it is that we're doing. So Adrian Tchaikovsky, he'll come in sooner or later, for sure. Matt says, just found out Adrian Tchaikovsky is coming to Berlin in October. Very cool. Very cool. And yes, Nikki knows exactly who I was talking about for sure. Talking Story says, just pre-ordered. See, sometimes I call him Talking Story. Sometimes I call him John. Sometimes I call him John Minton. Sometimes I call him Captain Tingle. Just never really know. Just pre-ordered the final Matthew Corbett book, Leviathan. Pretty pumped to get to the end of that series. Well, you got Mike reading it, so that's pretty good. And yeah, Britton says Turn It On is great. That's a Genesis rocker for sure. Where are we here? Daniel, hey, great to see you again. Daniel Miranda, hey from Mexico. How's the backlog? I recommend wandering in to creep up the list. Yeah, I'm reading it right now. So I've probably got another 15 to 17 audio hours left on Wandering in Book 1. I will have that complete by the end of August, so I can include it in the August recap. This is a perfect saying. This is something I was talking to Philip about this morning. Dylan R. says, Malazan isn't difficult. You just have to be willing to not know everything until he wants you to. And I could not agree more. Philip and I were talking exactly about this morning. There are readers out there that want to understand everything chapter by chapter and don't like questions that go unresolved for any period of time. Malazan will do that to you. Some of the other ones do it as well. Like when I read To Ride Hell's Chasm, Jenny Wirt's book, standalone, at Go Read It, she does little tidbits of like that in that book, but she answers those questions usually sometimes in the same chapter or in the very next chapter, and in kind of subtle ways. Like it'll just be in the middle of a paragraph and there you get the answer to the question that she put into your mind 20 pages ago. There are things like Book of the New Sun, however, that you'll be questioning stuff on page 2 that may not get answered for 3 books. So there's some people that just really like a linear read, that they know what's going on at every moment. There's some people that are okay leaving unanswered questions for a period of time till the author is ready to make a reveal. And that's what Malazan is. And look at this. Shad, I'm probably going to join you guys on the Janny Words read along. We're going to have a blast. It is going to be so fun. And E.G. Ostergaard said, is that the last king of Ostergaard? I don't know. There's another author I'm whole in my reading, Tad Williams. Yeah, I know you guys. It's crazy. Late to the party. Hi, everyone. Also, just want to say shout out. He's not in the chat. He'll probably never watch this video, but great to see Brian Lee Durfee back in home making book review videos again. So he was highly inspirational for me to get started. I honestly had no idea when he would be back at home, and it's great to see him kind of getting back up and at him again. So shout out to Mr. Brian Lee Durfee. Um, yeah, see, Matt was smart enough to DNF the magicians. I'm not as smart as Matt, but he's been on this show before. If you want to know why, you can go on and watch that one. Audio maps are tough too. Yeah, can't really speak to that because I'm not a big map guy. I'm interested to know, are you guys map people? I have yet to look at a Malazan map. When I opened up Dead House Gates and there's 4 pages of maps, I never looked at it again. It doesn't maps to me. I don't know. I just read the story. I did read the map a bit in the Wheel of Time, because I don't know. It seemed like it made more sense. It was all sort of one continent, except for the Ciancian part that was off to the west somewhere. But I liked to know where they were traveling because they were constantly on the move. The Malazan maps, it seems like there's just different cities where most stuff is happening. Yeah, there's quite a bit of travel involved in Dead House Gate, so I shouldn't really say that they just stick around one place. But I don't know. I mean, maps, a lot of people love them, a lot of people don't care as much. I'm definitely in the I don't care as much category. I didn't look at a map that I don't think I ever looked at a map in The Way of Adan or the Adan trilogy, which, by the way, if you have not read that, do yourself a favor and go read it. But I'm just not a big map dude. Um, where are we here? Do Matt says we're back to Sunday pubbing this Sunday. I love that. That's great. Um, I'm always there for that. Nikki wants to know, which Harry Potter house are you? That's a great question, and I'm going to give you the answer, but I'm also going to give you a preview on something I've been kind of thinking about in my mind to do this fall, because fall always kind of seems like this back to school Harry Potter kind of vibe to me. So I was thinking about doing a video where I take maybe 15 of my most watched favorite booktubers and I sort them in the houses where I think they are. And then I have them send me a 30-second clip of where they think they are. And we grade me if I was correct or incorrect. And then later in the comments, you guys can decide who was right. If yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing there because I kind of have some, some are easier than others, but yeah, I think that would be a really fun video. As to my personal house, every Harry Potter test I have ever taken, no matter what answers I give, I come out Slytherin every single time. I embrace it. I love the ambition of it. I love the creativity of it. Um, yeah, I'm definitely Slytherin for life. Some people will say that I've moved into Ravenclaw since I've turned into a booktuber, but to be honest with you, those people don't know the true Ravenclaws that are here in the booktube space. And I am far more Slytherin. Shout out to Tori Tekken, my fellow Slytherin. Read by Kyle says, just stopping by to say hello. My question is, what is your favorite TV show ever? Oh boy. Off the top of my head, I have to say maybe Seinfeld. I just love that show. Maybe a not too distant, and this is going to be sitcom, a not too distant, far away from that is Arrested Development. If we go to drama, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. Those are two of my huge ones. I also really loved Deadwood. I'm sorry that it only had the few seasons that it did. Al Swearingen, um, as God, who played him? Ian Mc somebody in Ian, I don't know. Whoever played him, Ian McShane, I think is his name. Just yeah, just unbelievable show. So Deadwood and Breaking Bad and Seinfeld and Arrested Development. And John Stevenson, another regular here. Thanks for being here, John. I understand that on point is what we call being in the flow. Very cool. Where are we here? Sorry if I will get to all of these messages, by the way, I promise. Where are we here? Slay sent me a super chat. Sorry if I haven't got to that yet. Um, 10, thank you, Slay. Very nice for the 10 spot. Is there a book you wish you had discovered at a different point in your life? Not really. I kind of think everything happens for a reason in some regard. And I don't know that what resonates with me now would have made a difference if I was in my 20s. I just don't know that I would have been mentally, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally ready for some of the more impactful ones that I've had in my life in the last 10 years. And I was really just a different person back then. And there's a question that came in the comments for people who are watching on a replay that I'm going to talk about a little bit on that one. But no, not particularly. Um, where are we here? Sorry, when I hit the super chat thing, it kind of there we go. Okay, we're back. Okay, where were we? Okay, where are we? Here's another question. K Fox, if you could make everyone in the world read one book, what would it be? All right, I'm gonna just give you the answer that came right off the top of my head. No thought was involved. The Giving Tree. Um, I don't know. You probably read it when you're 5 years old. The lessons in the Giving Tree are better than lessons you're going to get 99.9% of the books that you read. So there's my first answer. And generally speaking, sometimes the first answer is the best one. So I'm sticking with the Giving Tree. Is that a weird answer? You guys put that in the comments. Um, okay. Viking did. Um, just want to make sure I'm not answering inter-chat questions. T. Baggins says, do not Google Captain Tingle. I don't know. You might. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say what happens. Chaco G says, wandering in gets better. I don't think it's bad. I'm enjoying it. I wouldn't DNF it because although I did say when I started it, I told the community, you guys voted for a 47-hour book. If I'm not feeling it, I cannot do a 47 book, even though I'm famous for not DNFing any. Wouldn't have done it. I like it. It's not bad. I mean, and the narrator is really, really good. So again, I want to move it along. I want to speed up and get to, some more meat of the lit RPG of it. It's very much in the introductory stage for the first 20 some hours, which as a sort of avid lit RPG reader, that's a lot of space to get the story moving along. But I would understand it very well for somebody who's entirely new to the genre because it slowly brings you into it, if that makes sense. And Matt is correct. Book of the New Sun doesn't answer some questions ever. Very true. And sometimes those are cool, why not? Sometimes you don't need to have the author tell you the answer to the question. Sometimes you can make up your own, right? The ending of The Sopranos. Perfect example. Ithra. Yeah, Durfee love. Absolutely. Max Scarfield, another great community member. When you talk about, somebody had said, do you get recommendations from other booktubers? And I had said, well, I get a lot of them from the comments. Mac is so well read. It's bonkers. Greetings and salutations, gang. A little bit late European time, but excited to soon be finished with Tad Williams' Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. Next up are Scott Baker's The Thousandfold Thought. Cheers. This dude reads so voraciously. There's a handful of people in the BellTube community that I can say read on pace with Matt in terms of just number of books. It's nuts, but thank you for that. That's good to know. Grifkin just started Service Model today. I think John read that, and I think he liked it a lot. So very cool. Like I said, I haven't read that author yet. This is an interesting thing, Chaco. Let me talk about this for a second. Chaco says, not everything we read has to be as serious as Malazan, which is one of my favorites, but I feel like I'm judged when I recommend something light. People need something light. If all they read was deep stuff, their brains would explode. You have got to give your brain a variety of material to be able to really appreciate the depth in some of these deeper books, right? So if you read Malazan, then you did Second Apocalypse, and then you did Wars of Light and Shadow, and then you did Book of the New Sun, and then you did Sun Eater, and you did all of these, kind of heavier stuff. I think for a lot of people, they'd run into burnout. And so something light is a great, they use the term palate cleanser. It's probably pretty accurate, although I don't want to feel like I'm dismissing lighter topic books. Cozy fantasy has become a thing for a reason. People like to sit back and not have to worry about, the world ending, and maybe there's just some low stakes. I get flack all the time, or at least I used to before the channel became a little bit, popular, not hugely popular, but a little bit popular, where I talk about lit RPG, and a lot of that got poo-pooed. I watched a very, 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 very famous booktuber have on um, a probably one of the best-selling lit RPG guys ever, and it's not Will White, it's somebody else, is a friend of mine. And I felt like during the interview, he was almost poo-pooing the genre. And I'm like, lit RPG is a lot of fun. And again, I have a video about why I think so, but it puts us in the place of the main character where we're never going to be the street urchin like Locke Lamora. We're never going to be the chosen one, like Rand in Wheel of Time. We're never going to be Sandman Slim escaping from hell. But Lit RPG puts us, a potential us as the main character. And that does get considered light sometimes. And it becomes judgy in a way. And that's why I'm very confident and adamant about talking about that genre, because I'll talk about Dungeon Crawler Carl in the same sentence as Malazan or Book of the New Sun. And I don't think I can get judged on being, this lightweight reader when I'm sandwiching in Dungeon Crawler Carl between Scott Erickson and Gene Wolfe, two of the most brilliant authors ever. So I hope that kind of answers that statement. I wanted to make a point about that because it's something that it's been on my mind a little bit. Joe Byrne, I don't look at maps either. Cool. Um, Michael, all right, you made me laugh tonight. My wife can confirm I've never looked at a map. Some of you guys are old enough to remember before there was GPS. We actually had to print out MapQuest, so where we're going. And some of you guys I know right now, when you'd stop for directions and they'd say go east on this street and go north on this street, you're already forget it. You just need to know, take your second right, take your third left, blah, blah, blah. Um, okay, where are we? Interesting. DK Moon can't see the middle of the Dan map on the paperback. 2-page map in the middle is in the binding. Interesting. I did not know that, but I do know that the Broken Binding has a brand new edition of the Wave of Dan coming out with unbelievable artwork. So keep an eye out for that. Nikki says, yes, Sorting Hat. Kendall, that's right. Darko is also Slytherin, which is very cool. Love that. Mr. Popadopoulos. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Popadopoulos. You can't tell me what you are already, Matt. I already knew that about you, but you've got to let me sort you first, and then we'll come on and we'll see if we get that right. But yes, I knew that. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Excellent Seinfeld. Um, Excellent Seinfeld callback. John, we need another book that causes a readership revolution like the Harry Potter books. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that there's so much more social media today than there was when I don't think there was any when the Harry Potter books first started coming out, that people are just really easily distracted. And I don't know that in our lifetime, and Mike's talked about this, that we're ever going to see, the kind of enormous fandom, almost like rioting, the midnight book sales of, to get your hands on this book and stay up all night and read it. Don't know that we're going to ever get that again, but here's hoping. I hope we do. Gendron says Babylon 5, another series I'm blind to, but Mike got me to watch Battlestar Galactica last year. God, Mike never steers me wrong with TV. He also got me to watch For All Mankind. What an amazing show. Of course, I watched Dark Matter because I love the book. All right. Where are we here? Sorry, I'm making sure that I'm not going through. Yeah, Matt says if there's one book, the comic Mouse. So if you're unfamiliar, it's a comic that's basically about the Holocaust, and the mice are the Jewish people, and the cats are the German Nazis. And I read that comic in high school, and it's a hard read, but it's a good read. So yeah, he's not wrong there at all. Where are we here? Do do do. Um, where are we? Rindis says Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is one of the best epic fantasies. I've heard that across the board. I know it's great classic fantasy. I know that Had Williams is an impeccable author. I know Jimmy Nuts had him on Chatting with Nuts. So again, there's a guy I got to get to, but it's so weird, you guys, when I think about my TBR, and I've never had to prior to starting the channel, thinking about what am I reading when. I was really kind of fly by the seat of my pants whenever I get to it, I get to it. But now with the channel, I want to have books that I'm excited about reading, but also provide meaningful content for you guys too. And it's so weird when somebody had asked me about reading their series, and I said, honestly, it's just the way it looks. We're looking at 2026. And that is just bonkers to me that I'm planning that far ahead and reading. But it's a good thing to know that there's so many books that are being recommended to me that are so good and probably worth the wait. So where are we here? Matt says light reads are necessary. Me and Malazan also read Dresden. Yeah, absolutely. Dresden Files, top 10 series for me, for sure. Um, um, Joe, see, this is why you guys gotta read the Hybrid Helix books. You get gems like this. I'm exactly like Sandman Slim escaping from hell. If you knew more about my first marriage, you'd understand. Telling you guys, go read Hybrid Helix. Wistful Ascending is book one. You'll get all that and more. Janny says, I am with Hagrid all the way. You know, I think she's right. By the way, what a great headmistress Janny Wirtz would be for Hogwarts. I'd want to take her classes, but yeah, she'd be out, teaching beast stuff. There's no doubt about that. Um, where were we here? Again, I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting to questions and not too much interaction with. Oh, that's what I was talking. I told you guys like a half an hour ago. I would finally remember what I was talking about. One of the things that I loved about doing For Whom the Bell Tolls when I started was part of the chat in Jimmy Nuts' chatting with Nuts. I knew I'd get back to this sooner or later, and I found that while everybody's paying attention to the interview, they're also having these conversations amongst themselves in chat, and it becomes a virtual hangout. And I just love that. And people would look forward to chatting with Nuts every other week, not only for the great content that Jimmy provides, but also as an opportunity to hang out, chat with their BookTube friends. That's one of the goals for Whom the Bell Tolls. Because you know what, you guys, I know sometimes I get people on with giant channels, right? Speaking of getting people on with giant channels, at the end of this show tonight, I'm going to tell you who the next guest is, and it's the largest booktuber we've ever had on the show before in terms of subscriber base. So that's interesting. But that's what I wanted to do with For Whom the Bell Tolls, is to not only ask deep, penetrating questions that maybe haven't been asked, because booktubers, as you guys are well aware, everybody's on everybody's channel. And a lot of the times they all get asked the same questions. And I wanted to give you guys something that is a little bit more in depth when possible, yet still organic. So we could go off my script of questions as the conversation evolved. I think we've done that, but you guys are absolutely amazing when you have your own virtual chats going through here, or your actual real chats, I shouldn't say. Here we go. Chaco G, thanks. I am a voracious reader as well, and I'm very grateful for your answer. Lit RPG is my new addiction, but for palate cleansers, I love reads like the Vorkosigan Cycle and Kate Daniels. I'm unfamiliar with both, Chaco, but leave it in the comment. Sooner or later, I'll probably get to it. Rindis says, Bujold is the best current SF and F author. Have not read, don't know. Janny says, how much comfort to know you can never run out of great books. Absolutely. That's another thing that I was talking with Philip about this morning was that when Jeff Bezos started Amazon, the reason why he selected books as the first thing that he sold was because there's more SKUs. So an SKU is basically a differentiated unit than anything else. There are more different books than any other item to be sold in the world. I mean, there's millions and millions and millions and millions of books, and he wouldn't run out of any type of supply. So, yeah, big reason. John Minton agrees. Yes, Janny, Chaco, much love for Janny. There's always love for Janny. And by the way, you guys, I don't take for granted at all that Janny Wirtz is in these chats because it's pretty incredible when you start a channel like this. And I wasn't super familiar with her writing other than the Daughter of the Empire stuff that she did with Raymond Feist, which I read so long ago. Literally, I read Magician, I think when it came out. So that's how long back I've been reading Feist. And when I did the video of the authors that I've read the most books from, I was blown away that I've read like 18 or 19 Raymond E. Feist books. The last one being, I don't know, 15 years ago. So I just had no memory of that. But it's pretty incredible to know that, some of your favorite authors like what you have to say and come into the chat. Where are we here? Um, do, do, do. Yeah, John's right. That's why lives are cool. When you get to hang out with Mike's book reviews crew, you get to hobnob with the awesome authors that pop in like words. Yeah, absolutely. Darko says Vorkazigan Sage or Saga, I think he means, is everything. Where were we? Bujold. Da, da, da. Very cool. I'm going to get to some questions that came in off the poll, not the poll, but just the community tab. These are for people. And you can keep asking questions, by the way, in the chat, and I will for sure get to them. I want to answer some questions that came in from people that do watch on replay, that it's late at night there or wherever. Our friend I'll start at the most far away. Let's start at the more recent one. We'll get to that one. Vera. So if you're unfamiliar with Vera, she's got a relatively new channel, but it's got like 8,000 subscribers right now. I'll try to throw a link in the comments or maybe in the description to her channel if you haven't checked it out yet. She wants to know, can we commission a statue of a bell inside of a tube to honor the channel's success so far? Sure. If you want to, she's in Ireland. Maybe they do that there. Very fun. Next question. Dub H Moore. Yeah, regular commenter. Awesome. Weird question, but I love it. What's your favorite sandwich? It's going to be deli. It's either going to be a corned beef sandwich or it's going to be a pastrami sandwich, depending on my mood. Yeah. Only the best fantasy wants to know, what's the funniest situation you encountered during your days owning the nightclub? Okay, if I could remember, like, honest to God, 99% of them, I would probably have a lot of answers. And I bet you later on when I'm in bed, I'm going to come up with some more. I can give you a couple. If you guys watch football and all, you'll have heard of the announcing team of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. They were in Minneapolis covering I don't know who it was. Somebody was playing the Vikings on Monday night, and they had come in for the weekend. And I had met them at another bar, and I got to talking to both of them. And Joe Buck wanted to keep going after Troy. We were at a hotel bar. Troy was going to go up to his room, and Joe was like, "So what's next?" And I said, "Well, I own a nightclub. If you want to come," he's like, "Absolutely." So Joe Buck and I go to my bar, and in the industry, at least in the time, there's this liqueur called Grand Marnier, and it's like this orange flavored liqueur. It's not very good. It's intended to be mixed into a drink, definitely not as a shot. But if you're in the industry, if you're in hospitality, and particularly in the bar business, you know that most industry people do shots of Grand Marnier. He'd never done one before, and we continued to do a bunch of them. And I got Joe Buck so incredibly drunk on Grand Marnier. That was very hilarious to watch somebody that, you hear all the time just being super serious, analyzing, calling the NFL game. And here he is half stumbling through my bar, which was great. Another funny story. There's two I'll just think of right off the top of my head. Uh, David Beckham came in one night and we were having a really good time. And he brought with him his whole security entourage from England, right? So I've got big security guards at the club, but this guy brought in, I mean, just everybody's 6'9" if they're, a foot tall, and they've all got earpieces in and they're just, security team for David Beckham. And we get to drinking some Guinnesses and some beers in my booth because I was like, hey, come take my booth and I'll get out of the booth and you have it for yourself. He's like, no, man, I want to sit and talk to you. You're the club owner. And he's just a really good dude. So he's there for like an hour and he's only in town for like a day or two and he wanted to check out some other places. So he goes to a relatively new hot spot and we'd been around for a long time. So somebody had said, if you want a cool vibe, go see Brian at the lounge. So he did. Goes to this new bar that was kind of the hot spot. The guy at the door doesn't recognize him at all. And David Beckham's not carrying around his passport at all. And the guy doesn't let him in to the bar. And the security is making a big stink, and all the people in this line of this hotspot are like, don't you know who this is? This is David Beckham, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no big deal. I'll just go back and hang out with Brian. So 20 minutes later, here comes the whole security entourage again to hang out. So we hung out all night. That was a lot of fun. And another funnier moment was when I had just got into the business and I realized that not only was Lindsay Lohan in the club, but that she wasn't legal drinking age. And I had to sit and figure out, all right, do I kick Lindsay Lohan out of the bar or do I just let it ride? And you know me at all. You know what I did. All right. Next question. Caleb, sorry. Caleb wants to know, recent watcher here. I've been enjoying your channel. What are some auto buy authors who you'll see on a book from, old or new, or upcoming, and will just buy it knowing nothing except for that they wrote it? Really interesting question. I don't know of any sci-fi or fantasy authors that are day one buys for me. I don't know. I know like Josh and Mike and Brian Lee Durfee are day one, and probably John Minton too are day one Stephen King buyers. I'm just not like that, but I am with Lit RPG. Anytime Matt Dinneman comes out with a book, particularly a Dungeon Crawler Card book, I'm a day one. Eric Uegland, if there's a new good guys book or a new bad guys book, I'm a day one. So oddly enough, it's more Lit RPG, I think, than the SFF stuff. Esme, we all know Esme. I think interesting questions here. If you could give a one for the road to 20-year-old Brian, what would your advice be? Um, I would say to a 20-year-old Brian, get humble and get humble quicker, because 20-year-old Brian was arrogant and stubborn. And I'm still a little stubborn in some ways, but arrogant for sure. I 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10 times, thought I was the smartest person in any room that I walked in. And I wasn't afraid to show that. I just thought very highly of myself and I wasn't afraid to show that. And confidence is good, arrogance is not. And I experienced over the course of my 20s and early 30s some extraordinarily humbling events that I am glad now that they happened because it turned me into the person that I am. But I would have liked to avoided some rude awakenings that come with being an overly arrogant person into somebody who is admittedly very humble as I am now, because I understand the power of gratitude and I understand that most of the good things in life that have happened to me have not necessarily happened because of anything that I did in particular, but more so because others did in collaboration with me or just flat out for me. And that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self is get humble and get humble quicker and knock off the arrogance, because you're not impressing anybody and you're not growing as a human being. But you know what? We live and we learn. Esme also had a question, and I like this one. I had a quick answer for this one. If you had to choose one BookTube friend to design a tattoo for you, who would you trust? I'm going with Mr. Art Designer himself, Patrick. Patrick, I would trust 100%. If and she asked what I would get, I would say, Patrick, give me something, make a design of Roland approaching the Dark Tower. That's what I want. I've got, if you guys have seen me in short sleeve shirts, I've got a half sleeve on this arm. I do have one tattoo here, which is, I don't really want to cover it because I like it, but I also want to do another half sleeve here, and that's going to entail covering it. It's actually, it would be funny to do a Dark Tower one here because I have a door here, which is really from the Drawing of the Three, if you're familiar with that book. So maybe somehow that could get incorporated into it, but it would go with Patrick. I would go with Patrick for sure. Let's get back to some of these questions that we've got in the chat. Where was I here? And thank you guys for bearing with me through some of these ramblings. It's awesome that you guys are still here an hour and a half into this, because honestly, I thought we could be here for 15 minutes. There'd be no questions, and I sign off, and that's great. But I'm really glad you guys are here. It tells me maybe you're having a fun night here. Janny says you need to license a clip from Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells or Tubular Bells 2 or 3. Janny was kind enough to what's the word I'm looking for? Bringing me up to speed on what we consider bagpiping versus what's actual bagpiping. And to this day, one of the tracks that she sent me to find on YouTube of like a meditative bagpipe type of a thing, I still use it. It does put you in kind of this stillness trance, which I just love for calmness. So I trust her for sure. Why Grand Marnier? Don't know, Daniel. It was nothing I ever drank before I got into the industry. I found out once I got into the industry that that's what hospitality people drink. And it's weird because whenever I'd get a guest that would order a shot of Grand Marnier, I'm like, you've worked in the bars before, or you've had a significant other that worked in the bars before. And most of the time I'm right. Of course, you know Grand Marnier. You're no rookie, Joe Byrne. That's for sure. Shad likes my Joe Buck story. I like that. Where are we here? And thank you for bearing with me as I scroll. Oh, talk about my favorite New Zealander. Sorry to be so late, Brian. Love your face. Well, Derry, I don't know, but you have to tell us how Thursday is going, because it is already Thursday for the lovely Derry. Again, another amazing booktuber. If you're not subbed to her channel, what are you waiting for? Derry is the Sherpa of all things Robin Hobb, for sure. If you ever have questions about Realm of the Elderlings at any level, I know of no better expert, but neither you guys know this already. Most of you guys in the chat and a lot of you viewers have been watching BookTube far longer than I've been a BookTuber. You guys, it's only been 9 months. Isn't that crazy? It feels like we've been together a lot more than 9 months. So pretty cool. JC Byrne, I'm getting on to your auto buy list somehow. Yeah, right. Exactly. Unlimited Reads, Chris. Hi, Brian. I'm late. Another great person, right? This is direct from Australia. Oh my gosh, Derry, you're so happy. You're right. I am pleased to hear this. Derry writes, you'll be pleased to hear I've spent this week discovering Carl and Donut already up to the most. Awesome. Derry, I love to hear this. I knew you were going to be a Princess Donut fan. Yeah. Awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. Derry will be coming on For Whom the Bell Tolls, by the way. We're just going to sort out a date, but it's something that I've asked her to do. She's humbly agreed. I think excitedly agreed, because if you know Derry, she is like incredibly energetic and incredibly positive on camera. So when we get this thing scheduled, it's going to be in the fall. Look out. We're going to have a blast. Kindles and Kicks. Darko says Princess Donut is everything. Absolutely. There we go. John says, I had humbled myself too, Brian. I'm feeling much better now. Night Quarter. It's another great show for some of you guys who remember, that. Yeah, Michael says, 46-year-old me would tell 20-year-old me to look at a map. I'm still lost, man. LOL. You know what you know at 20. And the problem is that we think we know everything. At least I did. I wish in some regard, I'm glad I am who I am now. I wouldn't be the level of, I think, where I'm sort of at conscientiously and even subconscientiously had I not been that person. But you talk about rude awakenings. Some of you guys that I'll get to know better over time, I'll share with you some of these stories. And some of my booktuber friends who I talk to behind the scenes, I've told them stuff that, yeah, I mean, tough things, but that's okay. Um, that's right. John says Grand Champion Princess Donut is awesome. She totally is. And oh, look who's here. Speak of the devil. We talked about you earlier on the show. Andrews Wizardly Read says, Sup, Brian. I, there's another booktuber that I don't miss episodes of. It's weird too, because I'm sure you guys know if you found me on BookTube, chances are your YouTube feed is full of booktubers. So that's why I always say I'm really grateful that you guys share your time with me, because it's not like you don't have other options of booktubers to watch. I mean, I can't even watch all the ones that I like, but I never miss a talking story video. I mean, I'm not going to list all the ones that I never miss because I'm going to leave somebody out and make them feel bad, but I never miss any of Andrew's videos either. I just, he's, I love his mania when he's on. He's stocking up. He's got stacks of books. He's not even sure where he's going next, and it's very fun. Um, where are we? Chris wants to know how are you finding Malazan? Does your head hurt yet? LOL. I mentioned it earlier. I love it. To me, I can tell. I mean, unless it just falls off for me for the next 8 books, which I doubt. Um, it's great. Does my head hurt yet? No. It doesn't. I mean, the only time that I get any confusion in Malazan really is in character names, and especially if it's been a few chapters, and those chapters can kind of be a little bit long, particularly because the copy that I have is the trade paperback, and the font is really small, and the margins are kind of narrow, and there's a lot of words on one page. So what looks to be, say, a 25 to 27 page chapter in a normal book, it's quite a bit larger than that. So sometimes I'll get a little bit lost in some of the names of kind of the B level characters or the C level characters. And I just go look at the cast list. Preferably, if they were in the prior book, I'll look at the glossary or the cast list of Gardens of the Moon, because then I'm not unintentionally spoiling characters that I haven't met yet in the current book that I'm reading. Now, I know Malazan's a little bit different because books 1 and books 2 are mostly different casts, but I have to say I was misled a little bit because I had heard someone say, "Oh, it's an entirely different cast." Not really. I mean, a couple of my favorite characters from Gardens are in, with major roles in Deadhouse Gates. So, yeah, I like it. That's my answer. I like it. Andrew is 70% into House of Chains. So that's what I'm going to get to. I'm doing Memories of Ice, then House of Chains, then we're going on a break for a little while. And I love this. K Fox, Terry has potentially convinced me to try Dungeon Crawler Carl. K Fox, all I will say regarding that is if you are an audiobooker and you have no issues with audiobook, the production that Sound Booth Theater and its owner and narrator of this book, Jeff Hayes, is top level. They put more time and attention into audiobook production than any lit RPG company out there. In fact, probably more than most SFF companies that are out there. They're hugely passionate about it. Sound Booth Theater has reached out to me, offering me like credits and really cool things in exchange for honest reviews about stuff. And I've done that, in the past. I'm going to continue our friendly relationship with the COO and one of the narrators of Sound Booth Theater. Actually messaged me after watching my Lit RPG starter guide, which, by the way, you guys, how weird is this? By far, the number one watched video on BellTube is the Lit RPG starter guide. It's weird. Anyway, if you like audiobooks, do it on audio. It's a whole elevated experience. And as the books continue, book 1 is great, book 6 is great, but the production values even get better. But I will say that even book 1's production value is better than 90% of the audiobooks that are out there. They just take a ton of pride in that. Where are we? John, great to see you. Thank you for being here as always. Where are we? Do. Andrew says, thanks, Brian. I have so many books and I have no idea what's going on. You know what? I mean, again, you bring a sense of madness to to your method, which is fun, man. I mean, that's why you have 6 or 7 thousand subscribers already. People are fun. Darko says, also, many Malazan characters have more than one name, which really makes it hard to keep up with all of them. Yeah, and I can imagine as the series grows, the cast list grows, those prior book cast lists are going to become invaluable to me, which is great. And the other part of it is that, look, this is a completed series. I am lucky enough to have, some very friendly relationships with people that are very big Malazan aficionados that know this stuff in and out that I could just say, hey, Philip, Jimmy, Joanna, I missed this. I missed the meaning of this. What's your take? And even that, even if you don't have the direct connection, you guys, I was watching a video on Read by Kyle last night. They had a Dead House Gates conversation with him, Alan, and Bookborn. And now I've never met Bookborn. I've never had any interaction with her at all. But I understood some of her, pros and cons about it. But yeah, I mean, Alan and I are in agreement on quite a bit of that book. And yeah, Dead House Gates was phenomenal. Jared Henderson, another great friend of the channel. I really have to get back to Malazan, but there's Wirtz and Tad Williams, plus all this non-fantasy I need to read soon. Too little time. Yeah. By the way, when I was talking about being the smartest person in the room, clearly I'd never walked into a room that Jared Henderson was in when I was in my 20s. Anyway, yeah, I mean, Jared, I don't know where you left off with Malazan, but there's certainly lots of recap videos, and that's what I was just mentioning. Is that there's Philip's got them, Joanna's got them, AP Canavan has them. You get some pretty good detailed analysis with wherever you left off, so to bring it back up. But you're right. I mean, you got these amazing authors that you want to get to, and so many times in the day, particularly when you've got such a killer channel on philosophy, which we're going to talk about here shortly. Where are we? Darius says, true Darko, 20-year-old me would have ignored that advice like I ignored the advice from people who knew better. Same. I mean, that's what I'm saying is like future Brian could go back, and that would be the only person 20-year-old Brian would have listened to, would have been future Brian with proof that it is really me from the future, knowing things about him that nobody else would ever know. That maybe he'd listen to me, but nobody else. Okay, where are we here? Janny says, memories of ice will gut me. I have no doubt. But that's okay. It's going to be good. Book 6 was a bit of a miss on audio for Dungeon Crawl Carl. I'm going to guess, Andrew, we can talk about it offline, but I'm going to guess it might have been the inclusion of Patrick Warburton in there. It seemed a little bit out of left field. And Patrick Warburton, if you guys don't know, played Putty on Seinfeld. He's in the audio, but limited. Not, he's in less than 5% of the audio, but it kind of came out of nowhere. Derry says 100% Brian. Sound booth production is amazing. These audiobooks are great. Totally agree. Totally agree. K Fox says, I do like having a fun book series going on. Absolutely. Because you don't have maps, you don't have names. Andrew says, I was on Bookborn's I should be able to say this. I'm a judge or sub-judge. SPFBO team last year. You were on Bookborn's team. Interesting. Have her come on the channel or respond to a comment sometime. I'd love to talk to her, and I bet you our viewers would love. Wouldn't you guys love for the bell to toll for Bookborn? I think that would be a pretty fun show. Let me know. Kindle and Kicks Darko says, Jared Henderson, the first booktuber to persuade me to add philosophy books to my TBR. That's his intention. Then he's doing his job because he's good. And hey, I mean, talk about can't get a better compliment than that, Jared. Janny Word says Jared Henderson's channel is mind blowing. Yep, absolutely. Exactly. Daniel says, I don't know what you guys are talking about. The way I remember my 20s, I was always right about everything, and it was everyone else who was wrong. Couldn't have been me who was the problem. Yep. Been there, done that, got all the t shirts. Where are we here? It was Travis Baldry. I don't even remember. Oh, wait, no. I don't remember where we were here. Yeah, and yeah, that's what you mean. Hayes could have done it all. I just think that they kind of reached a little bit on that, and it wasn't necessary. Um, Jared says, Brian, I made it through Deadhouse Gates. I liked it. I just don't know when I'll make it back to the series. It's about prioritizing what you want to do. If you want to taste test, and do the Tad Williams and do the Jenny Wirtz stuff, and see where you want to move through the journey, then you'll do that. I can understand that if you've not, read the other books and read the other authors, that now would be a good time to kind of taste test and sample it. I'm a big fan of recommending to Riot Hill's Chasm to get a good, sense of Janny Wirtz's writing, because it is a standalone and you're not committing yourself to a very long and large series, although it is completed, which is pretty awesome. Ithra, give me an obscure lit RPG with a weird skilled set like Grill Armageddon. You know, um, Not super obscure, but the the System Apocalypse books. The first one, it's by Tao Wong. It's called Life in the North. Is sci-fi lit RPG. It's pretty strange skill set stuff. I want to say another one is I'll get back to you on it. There's one that I'm thinking. War Eternus. War Eternus is another one. It's great on audio. That's just a 5 book series. I think might be a 4 book series, but it's pretty good. Where are we here? Very good. Excellent. Let me try to grab my notes here. Andrew says, "Gotta go. Have a great night. Love you, Brian. Stay magical." Of course, Andrew. If I didn't have you reminding me to stay magical a few times a week, I don't know what I would do. Dylan is correct. I think Jared could find lots of philosophy to talk about in Malazan. Yeah, hard to say though. I mean, when you get somebody at the PhD level, chances are he's read. I mean, well, not chances are. I know he's read all of the biggies and all of the ones that none of us outside of his industry will have ever heard of. But I think he could probably point to this particular thing is what such and such said, or this particular theme is something that this philosopher made a point to talk about. So I think he would probably recognize the origins of, the philosophy more so than find a new philosophy, because I don't think he's going to do that there, but you never know. But I think to talk about, yes, for sure. Where was I here? Oh, cool. I don't know. If you guys have any more questions, I'll field them. Otherwise, I'll rock it out and do a one for the road. We've been on for a couple of hours. So really, it's kind of up to you. If you've got questions, lay them on me. Otherwise, I will lay on a one for the road and let you guys go back to whatever your night or day or morning is. Oh, you know what I got to say? Gosh, before I even forget, I told you guys at midway through this stream, and then he popped in. So I was going to say it then, but got to give people a little bit of something to think about and wait about. Next week, we are taking a week off. We always take the final Wednesday of each month off of For Whom the Bell Tolls, just because it keeps it fresh for me. I have a laundry list of guests that I want to have come on the show. I also have a considerable amount of people that have already been on the show that have expressed interest in coming back on the show. So you're going to get a lot of volume twos of a lot of the shows that a lot of the guests that have been on before. But I have to say, one of the most exciting guests that I've had be willing to come on the show is coming on 2 weeks from tonight. And you've seen him in the comments. And of course, I am talking about the one and only Jared Henderson. This one is going to be an interesting one to prepare for because you guys know when I do this, I go back and I watch as many videos as possible. And I'm learning more about philosophy, obviously, from watching Jared's channel. Jared has been real helpful to me behind the scenes, understanding how just the fundamentals of YouTube works because he's been doing it for a long time. And the man has 250,000 subscribers in his community. He clearly is well liked, but he understands the business side of YouTube very well. I'm excited to have him on. I think we're going to have a really, really powerful conversation. And at the same time, it's going to be fun. That's kind of what we do over here on BellTube is we try to get into some deep themes, but we try to have a really good time while we're doing it because I want this to be enjoyable for you guys and it has to be enjoyable for me. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have Jared coming on September 4th. And at that time, I will announce the rest of the September lineup, and it's killer. You guys are going to love it. And October's looking really good. I'm booking into November. I had no idea this show would be as well received as it is. As I've mentioned almost in every episode of For Whom the Bell Tolls, I never thought I would even like doing these. I didn't think I'd like doing live streams. I didn't know if I would be able to be any good at interviewing people. But you guys being here and the number of people that watch this on replay is mind boggling. I'm going to say the replays of For Whom the Bell Tolls generally get as many or sometimes even more views than the regular videos that I put out. So I guess that tells me that you like a little bit about what we're doing. And my commitment to you is to try to do continual improvement. So, like I said, I watch Jimmy quite a bit. I watch Mike when he does his talk about nothing because these guys, they're not rookies to this. And I like their style. So that's going to be good. I'm going to answer a couple of questions that came in the meantime, and then I'm going to do one for the road. Derry wants to know, Brian, is there a book that stole time you wish you can get back? Yes, I mentioned it before you got here, Derry, and that is Lev Grossman's The Magicians. I thought it was the worst book I've ever read in my life. And yeah, I wish I could get that back. And it was way worse than any of the DNF challenge books that I got. And by the way, when I do my most surprising list at the end of the year, because December, you guys, is going to be Listomania on BookTube. You're going to get two things in December. I'm just calling it now. On every channel, you're going to get two things. All the best of lists, all the disappointing lists, all the mad, it's just all the top 10 stuff that comes in December at the end of the year. This year, you're also going to get more Sanderson Wind and Truth content than you know what to do with because everybody's going to be reading it. Everybody's going to be talking about it. It's going to be the most searched book by far on YouTube for booktubers. So most booktubers are going to be wanting to talk about it. But one of the books that I read for the DNF challenge, I already know is going to make my most delightful, surprising books of the year, which is pretty incredible. Somebody said here, Michael says, remember when you said the stream might only last 15 minutes? No way that was, you guys, I don't know. I mean, I just like to be humble about this. And I legitimately thought there's a chance there's no questions and I'm in and out of here in 15 minutes. And whoever showed up, showed up. And that was wonderful of them to do. This is really, this Ask Me Anything is about you guys as the BellTube community. We're at, like I said, I think as of filming this, we're at like 2,640 subscribers in 9 months. I think it's good. I know me though. I know I can do better and I'm going to do better and we're going to grow faster. And part of that, a lot of that is really on me and just knowing how to mix the content between what I think people are looking for on BookTube versus what I personally want to do. And I have to do both or I'm going to burn out on BookTube like a lot of people have done where they try to chase this, ever-ending algorithm of what's popular and they just pump out top 10s constantly, which I've been, somewhat guilty of as well. But let's be honest, that does help grow a newbie channel like ours. But I also have to do things like Rick Thunder. I have to do Funky Mirage. Yes, you are getting a Funky Mirage's Holiday Disco Special Volume 2 this holiday season. I can already tell you that I have at least half the people that I know Funky is going to be discofying already locked and loaded, written down in stone they're getting disco fied. But I have to do that stuff. That's why when you say it's going to be 15 minutes, I don't know. I mean, you just never know. Janny says, "Whoa, you with Jared will be lit." Well, I hope so. And I share with Jared that he is very welcome and entitled and encouraged to bring beers because it's allowed on Chatting with Nuts. It's allowed here on For Whom the Bell Tolls. So hopefully, maybe I'll join him in that. Oh, gotta say hi to Doug. Howdy, Brian. I am watching 10 minutes behind right now. Started 45 minutes behind. We'll comment later, but this has been a fun show so far. Again, we talk about different genre Sherpas. Doug is my lit RPG Sherpa. If you guys think I know anything about that genre, forget what you know. Doug knows 100 times more. In the comments, whenever I do a TBR and I include what are you reading, or if I do a lit RPG video, Doug has this down. I mean, you ever run into questions that I answer every comment and I answer every question, but there's going to be things that Doug knows more than I do, and never be afraid to ask him in one of the replies because he will answer you back. He's a super dude. Um, Bo, I'm sure this has been answered already, but do you have a favorite video game? Had to ask since you're a big fan of lit RPG. Yeah, I was thinking about this because I had a feeling this question might come up tonight. Oh man, it's so hard to pick one. I'd say in recent years, Divinity Original Sin 2 has been my mainstay, but I'm also just starting Act 3 of Baldur's Gate 3 right now, and I'm loving that. For those of you that are interested, I will throw up a photo of my character. I designed one to look exactly like Doctor Strange, and yes, he is a sorcerer. Apart from that, I like action RPGs. Mass Effect 2 is one of the best games I ever played. I'm a huge fan of the Uncharted series. Um, what else? I love the Telltale games too. I was talking to John yesterday about The Wolf Among Us as being one of my all-time favorites as well. Red Dead Redemption 2 might be the best story or one of the best stories that I've ever played through. And, everything from the highs of the highs to the lowest of the lows, to the betrayals, to the relationship changes. They pack a punch in Red Dead Redemption 2. So those are some of them for sure. And I'm sure I'll think of more after we get out. Ithra, have I read The Grand Dark? I have not. And I owe that to Mr. Caddery to read that. I wish more people would have read it, and I think he does too. Um, Yay, Disco Christmas. You know it. Jared, Jared, honest to God, to deal with me, you might need more than beers. I just wonder how many minutes into our show will you regret saying okay? I don't know. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun though. Jared's just a good dude. Oh, look who's back. Look who's back. He came back. He knows. He knows. I'm back. Exactly. What did I miss? Well, we talked about you incessantly. It's great. I mean, people did call out the sign of the Beowulf for sure. Capricious Fox says Larian Studios is one of my current favorite game developers. They are my current favorite game developer. Let's see what happens with BioWare with the new Dragon Age Veilguard game. I don't know. Looks pretty decent, but Larian's Larian. And I think the rumor is, well, I know they're not making the next Baldur's Gate. Wizards of the Coast is finding another company to do that after Larian turned them down because Larian wants to work on their own IP, which I suspect they're probably going to do a real quick game just to sort of get the RPG stuff, like it's a palette cleanser for the devs. But I would imagine Divinity Original Sin 3 will be their big next project. And I can only say from what they've put together with Baldur's Gate 3, Divinity DOS 3 is going to be just insane. I love it. Where are you? Oh, yes. Ithra says we badmouth Philip the whole time. Yeah, of course. Duh. He leaves. You leave the chat. You come back. You don't know what's been said about you. Bo says, I need to try out Baldur's Gate 3. I'm a big From Software fan as well. Yeah. From Software, I can't play their games. I'm with Mike on this one. You guys, Elden Ring, I guess, is doable because you can bring in helpers and you can have, summons and all these things to take the big bosses down. I don't have the time to play my piano. I'm losing my piano chops. I do not have time to throw the controller at my TV and break it and go buy a new one because I keep getting killed by the bosses in any of the From quotation, any of the From software games. Ithra, thank you. Very nice of you. Thank you for the spy 5 spot. Divinity Unoriginal Sin. I don't know. I like the game, but to each their own. Very cool. Well, before my camera dies, maybe what I'll do is a quick one for the road for you guys, and we'll call it. But before I do that, I just got to say thanks again. I mean, we're only 9 months into this. I think in another 9 months, I just knowing my goal of continuous improvement, the show should be much better. And not to say that it's deficient now, but it's possible to get better. I try to get better. One of the rare booktubers that watches their own videos, not because I want to watch myself so much, but because I just feel like let me point out some things that I think I can get better at. And that's what I do. I watch these videos back to go, all right, I did this good. I like this. I like this. But you know what? Let's do this. Or you know what? This background music was too loud. Or you know what? This background music didn't add anything to the storytelling. So let's pull that out. Or this kind of graphic worked well. Or this kind of sound effect, as I watch it, it's just not doing that much for me. What can I find better? So I think in another 9 months, and we'll do a big celebration a few months from now as well. And maybe I'll invite some other booktubers on that you guys love to celebrate the 1 year anniversary. If you guys want me to do that, I think there'd be plenty of people that would be willing to come on. But let's talk about one for the road for a minute. So I've got two. One of them is for you, and one of them is for other people. The one for you is that you know, it's weird. In the bar business, it was a bad thing for a guy to walk up to a girl and say, "You should smile," because it's kind of like this shitty hit on, type of a thing. And it's offensive to a lot of women, and rightfully so. But I think for us as human beings, there's something about the muscles in our face when we smile that it somehow releases some endorphins. And I'm not a doctor, I can't point to this medically, but it feels like some of the positive, good feeling endorphins come from when you put a smile on your face. And I smile all the time in my videos because I'm having fun. I'm not, talking myself into it at all. But I'm a human being like everybody else, and I have some horrible days. And when you're an entrepreneur and when you're self-employed, those highs are great, but the lows are very low. And what I have found for myself was even beyond things like I've talked about, like walking in nature and trying to do some physical fitness, simply trying to smile about something that has gone well, even if it was a long time ago, it can kind of help our mood. And when our mood gets improved, our results and whatever we're currently working on at the time might work out a little bit better because we're feeling a little bit better. That's a quick and easy one that you can just do on your own. But I've talked about this is for other people, and I've talked about gratitude a lot in both tonight when I was talking about, going from arrogant to humble as a young man versus where I think I'm at now. But also, I think that when we express gratitude to people that are not necessarily expecting it, or maybe it's somebody we haven't, provided any gratitude for in a while, just out of the blue, even if you don't really have a reason, even if they didn't do anything recently, to have you give them some gratitude, to give them a sincere thank you, I think it will help them out. And one of the things that I say at the end of almost every episode, besides, right before Here's Your Fortune, is to try to stay positive. And I think when people hear a sincere thank you or get an expression of gratitude over something that they've done recently or something they've done in the past, and not just saying thank you for doing this, but how that impacted you in a meaningful way when you're giving that gratitude, you say, well, thank you, so and so, for when you did this, because this is how it affected me in a good way. And I just wanted you to know that. When you get off the phone or if you do it in person in that interaction, you separate, they're going to walk away lighter. They're going to walk away feeling like because a lot of people think in their lives, nothing I say matters or nothing I do matters. And they kind of downplay, their existence, and they downplay their impact on people. But when they get, a sincere gratitude, not just a thank you, but here's how this impacted me. Here's how you made a positive effect on my life. It makes them feel good, and it makes them want to do that more. And even if they don't get the actual gratitude from other people they're doing it, it starts to form a little bit of a hint in the back of their mind that they're actually maybe helping somebody. And I think that that can make our lives better, almost in a roundabout kind of way, because if that happened enough in the world, certainly it would come back to us, and we would have people providing us gratitude for things that we've done, maybe even unknowingly, maybe unintentionally, that help someone out in a meaningful way to them, which will encourage our subconscious, to do it a little bit more often. So that's my one for the road today. You guys are literally the greatest community. I've I've called you guys the Beltube community really from day one. That's my goal here. I'm very clear and honest that I want to build the channel. I find nothing wrong with that. I want to do things like someone had asked earlier about when am I going to start the "Can I come over" segment. Really, kind of depends on the patron, to be honest with you. So if we can load up more patrons, the more I can put that on the books, because YouTube as a whole, particularly in the book space, and I'm sure you guys have heard of it, it you get paid, but you certainly don't get paid much. And it's, for me, this year one was really about recouping my investment into all the equipment so I can make a good looking show for you guys. Beyond that, travel expenses and things like that would probably largely come from Patreon. And I just got offered within YouTube's backend to be part of their Brand Connect, which connects, brands to you, which if I find something suitable that I think is sort of in line with the philosophy of the channel, sure, I'll take some sponsorships. Why? Because it'll allow me to reinvest it back in the channel, to do things like "Can I come over?" And if you've missed what that was, that's when I pick up a phone on camera, call one of your favorite booktubers, and simply ask, "Can I come over?" They say yes. Next thing you know is you see me in an airport. Next thing you know, I am filming a co-episode of whatever channel I would be on. When I was talking to Philip this morning, he reminded me that I've got a standing invitation to see him in New Jersey. I will most assuredly be raiding House of Minton in North Carolina sooner or later. Mike's given me a standing invitation. Jimmy Nuts has given me an invitation. Alan has offered for me to come stay with him in Florida. So there's, quite a bit that we could do there. But again, I don't want to go backwards into debt for the vanity of doing those kinds of shows. The channel, in my opinion, should at least try to break even with something like that, and then I'll go ahead and do it. So that's kind of my thought on that. Patreon's link in the description, of course. I want to hit some of these comments before we call it. Where are we here? Philip says, "I'm glad I made it for one for the road." I'm glad you made it too. John, big congrats, my brother. You deserve all the kudos in the world. That's great. Doug, boot, I made it to the live before the end. Excellent. How much did you skip through, Doug? Capricious Fox, if you like RPGs and old school turn-based combat, play at Vernum Indie Game Series. Cool. All right. I can check that out. I do like turn-based comment. Philip, any excuse to celebrate on BellTube is wonderful. Um, uh, I don't know what this one means, but no big deal. Derry says, "I'm glad you found and wanted to be part of BookTube. You bring a unique energy. Love your face." Thank you, Derry. Love your face back. Doug says, "Fake it till you make it can really work, and being happy tends to make people around you happy as well. It's a virtuous circle." Yeah. And, I don't even so much thinking it's faking it if you are not just smiling for the sake of smiling, but legit think about something in your life that either is current or happened in the past. That, we're so good about reminding ourselves where we screwed up in the past. We are very less good at reminding ourselves where we had successes and our happy moments. And I think we would all do ourselves a good service to try to balance that out a bit. I mean, we all sort of, have our little regrets. And if you don't, you probably do. You just won't admit it. But I think we need to relive some of our successes, at least internally, enough to give us a smile to think about, or a special place that you've visited that makes you smile. Then it's not so much faking it till you make it, because you're about, um, you're being genuine with yourself. And Ithra is correct. Self-employment is a dream and a damnation. Philip Chase, anytime Philip Chase says, I'm doing something wise, I'm going to agree with him because he's wiser than I am. And yeah, so I'm going to just say absolutely. Bulk, your attitude is contagious, my man. That's why I watch myself, and I'm sure a lot of people appreciate your channel. After I watched your video last week, I was like, dang, I need to follow this dude. Well, thank you so much. I mean, that's what we do here is real and intentional. This is by no means, a living. This is something that I love to do. And I feel like if I can help people out either with book recommendations, and that again is the point of BellTube. It's the first thing I go to. It's the mission statement of the channel, is to provide people value for clicking on the thumbnail, whether it's book related. You should read this book. Here's why and why and why. Whether it's collab related, where I get an interview on with a guest that you have already loved or come to know and love. Whether it's booktainment, if Rick Thunder shows up from the hot tub, I got to give you guys a reason to click on this stuff because you have so many options. That's why I love doing this, and its value. Philip says, thank you, Brian, for running BellTube. You've given us many smiles that have made my days more beautiful. That is awesome to hear. And where are we here? Philip says, I'm going to love New Jersey. I cannot wait. Talking Story John says, get ready to try Cheerwine. I don't know what it's going to be, but yeah. Aaron, another one of our patrons, says this has been an awesome stream, Brian, in chat. Very cool. And yeah, cool. Well, I got to thank you guys all for being here. I want to thank the people that did the super chats. That's it's just generous. Thank you. It goes to, I was just going to say it goes to buying books, but oddly enough, book mail is a thing. I never thought it would be for me, but now it goes to basically the subscription services that I use for my sound. I pay a monthly on that. I pay StreamYard. You don't see a StreamYard thing in the corner, and there's no disrespect to anybody that doesn't have the paid version of it. But I wanted our logo to not get caught up with the StreamYard stuff. So that's a subscription service. So these kinds of things matter, right? So, I mean, even in the donations in the super chat we got tonight, that pays for StreamYard for the next month, which is awesome. It's money that's not directly out of my pocket, that's supported by you guys, the BellTube community. It's hugely meaningful. Thank you guys for watching the videos. Thank you for watching on replay. For those of you who are watching on Team Replay, of course, leave a note that you did. I'm doing a video. I'm filming it tomorrow. It's going to be the September TBR. That'll release on Friday. And next week, I think we're going to do 2 videos. There'll be one that releases on Tuesday and another one that releases on Friday. Like I mentioned, no interview next week, but get ready. You're going to need the week off because when Jared comes on 2 weeks from tonight, it's going to be a banger of an episode. I can't wait to see you guys there. Yeah, Doug says, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. I forget to say that all the time on these live streams, but it does help in the algorithm. It just lets YouTube know that you liked the show enough to maybe suggest it to some other people that don't know we exist yet, but they're gonna, because our channel is gonna grow. I promise you that 100%. You guys have a lovely night. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, wherever you're watching this. We've gone, oh my gosh, 2 hours and 17 minutes. Yeah, quite a bit longer than the 15 minutes that I was dreading. So yeah, you guys made this a lot of fun. And Yeah, cool. Thank you guys for the first 9 months. We will be back live in 2 weeks with Jared. I'll announce the rest of the October lineup, and I'll probably give you guys some sneak peeks at some pretty fun episodes that I've got planned for the rest of the year, including the year anniversary that will come up in November. All right. Have a blast, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.